from the car
talks.
Car talks with her heritage.
I see.
Now, we decided that we wanted to do something a little different this week, because this week we are sitting in a parking lot of all
where?
things at a mall called
A very busy mall.
UTC Town Center, or UTC Mall, and it
UTC
stands for
Town
University Town
LOL
Center.
out loud.
LOL out loud. And the reason we chose this is because this week our topic is spoiled rotten in America. And I know that a lot of that title kind of makes people go, I'm not spoiled rotten, and immediately makes people want to defend themselves.
I'm not spoiled rotten. How dare you say I'm spoiled rotten?
But
Really
the reason
are
I chose that subject and we chose this location is because this is a very high-end mall in where we live in Sarasota. We live in an affluent area. I mean, just right now, in front of the mall, they have valet parking, and there's
nice
Maseratis, Ferraris,
Corvettes.
Lamborghinis. I mean, they even have a Tesla dealership inside this mall. And the reason I chose this subject was because I think we have a tendency in America to compare ourselves with others. We see something like this, and because it's appealing to the eyes and because it's appealing to the flesh, we tend to want those things. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting those things, but when it begins to cloud our relationships, when it begins to cause conflict, when it begins to cause strife, what ends up happening is that's when we've fallen out of line and we've completely turned into the flesh. And that's part of being spoiled in America. Now, you've traveled quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you've seen the difference that you can actually live on less than what you thought.
But then even coming back here, I've realized that I'm like, oh, I don't need all this stuff. I get rid of a ton of stuff. But then I get back into the American mindset, which isn't bad, but it's more like, oh, I can eat whatever I want, and oh, I could buy this, and oh, I deserve this, and I deserve that, and I try to make myself it sound better. But just thinking back through like different countries and what other people go through, like, it's really not necessarily worth like everything. Like, what matters in life,
Right. And
that's one thing we have to think about, is what really matters. Like, will I be able to take what I wear right now to heaven? Will I be able to? It's the souls that count. So
Right.
I'd rather be carried by other people rather than. So it's just a mindset.
Right. And one of our theme this month is freedom. And I think a lot of times we do have so much freedom in America that sometimes
It's a
that
blessing.
freedom is a blessing and a curse.
Just be quoting Monk.
It's a blessing in the sense of we do have freedom to
It's wonderful.
be and do and do whatever. The problem comes is when our freedom in America becomes more important than our freedom in Christ. Our identity as an American becomes more important than our identity as a Christian. And so we want to make sure that we keep that in balance. You know, I am a capitalist. I love malls. I love going to the mall. I love shopping.
She does.
I'm totally a capitalist when
Same.
it comes to that. I believe in people owning their own business and entrepreneurship.
I don't like shopping.
And
no, I
no,
agree.
you don't
I'm
like
a capitalist,
shopping,
but I
but
really don't like shopping.
I don't like shopping.
I like food.
But see, and that's another
That's part of
problem.
the capitalism,
That is part of that. And so what we end up doing is we end up comparing ourselves to one another. And that's part of that spoiled rottenness, where we become so comparing that we become so all about self and all about introverted self that it's all about me, and that's our society, and that's the spoiled rottenness. When our freedoms make it all about me instead of our freedoms being all about what does Christ want me to do. And so I have a verse that I do want to read that I'd like you to ponder. And I've got several different versions of it. By the way, we were talking about how you can live on a lot less and not having to be as spoiled. how many pounds was your backpack when you went to China for 3 months?
Okay, I've always been an overpacker, so that's the first thing. Always. Like, the 50-pound limit, that was, like, my limit normally. Like, I would always go to 50 pounds or, like, 49 point something. So, when I went to China, I was given a backpack from my mom, which is fantastic, a trekking backpack. And for some reason, I don't know what happened to me, but my backpack only weighed 27 pounds. Is that what I told you? Or 23?
Yeah. I thought it was 27.
27 pounds. Whereas, I don't know
3
how.
months.
I don't know.
I could never have
I've gotten to the point, though, that I'm like, do I really need this? Like, I go to an extreme, though, I think, of I don't need, like, anything. My boss gets mad at me all the time. She's like, if you like it, get it. I'm like, no, I don't need it.
And that's part of that mentality, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes we do really have to ask ourselves about our priorities.
Yes.
Which brings me, everybody needs to order this little booklet. It is literally like paper thin. It'll take you 2 minutes to read it. It's by Charles Hummel, called The Tyranny of Urgent, and it's something we deal with a lot here in the United States of America. So it's on Amazon. We don't get anything for that. It's a phenomenal book, but
Charles E. Hummel.
it is a great book. But
It's
anyway,
backwards, isn't it, on the screen?
it's backwards. We'll take a picture of it and put it on the right
We
way.
will. We'll say it.
But the verse I wanted to read is from 2 Corinthians 10, verse 12, and it says, "For we do not class ourselves or compare ourselves with those who commend themselves, but they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise." And so the minute we start comparing ourselves to somebody else's life is the minute we become foolish.
And that's hard because
That is really
I
hard.
compare myself constantly.
I do too. Like you're doing it right now.
This
Huh?
guy's
Looking
trying
out
to
the
back
window.
in. He's trying to back in. It's making me nervous.
Oh, he'll back in. Just let him.
My car. That's
So-
any witnesses to this. It's my car.
So
He did it. He did
the purpose of this verse, 2 Corinthians 10:12, is that if you begin to compare yourself, well, look what they have. Well, I want that, and I am raising my hand. I'm guilty of doing this because we allow our flesh to become bigger than our spirit. So the key to keeping yourself from being spoiled rotten, no matter where you are, because there's other countries where people are spoiled rotten. I just happen
It's
to live
all
here.
over. It's a mentality, though, too. It really is.
It
In
is.
different aspects, you can be spoiled
It's
rotten.
a mentality of, I'm free, I deserve it, and you need to give it to me. That's where it becomes unwise. That's where the crossover takes place. So 2 Corinthians 10:12, take it to heart. Don't compare yourself. Compare yourself with Christ. Now, how do I look in his eyes? Who am I in him? Who is my identity in Christ? And walk in that freedom and become spoiled rotten with his love instead of spoiled rotten with things and stuff.
Because things and stuff don't matter.
And
I
instead
learned that
of
from a wise lady growing up.
who's that?
She'd always say that. And now I live by it. And
Mother,
she's
daughter.
like, how do you do that?
I know. I'm like, I don't know how she learned it, but that's what we are. Her Heritage is a blog for mothers and daughters, or mothers or daughters, because all girls are either a mother or a daughter, or a mother and a daughter.
Or mother, daughter, and grandmother.
Yes.
Ooh.
Or aunts.
Or aunts.
That's right.
Aunts
Because
are
an
wonderful
aunt
people.
at one point was a daughter.
Mhm.
So that's why Her Heritage is around to just help you think about some things. So the next time you're at a mall, ask yourself, why am I here? Am I here to spoil myself? It's all about me. Or can I maybe use this moment to ask God who he has me to touch at this mall? At
It's
this
a lot
time?
of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
See if you have to bless somebody.
They're called treasure hunts, and
It's
they're a
so
lot of
much
fun.
fun.
It is.
I recommend everybody do treasure hunt.
Yep.
Like, just pray And if opportunities arise, it's great. If you feel like you're supposed to pray for somebody, it's great. You don't even have to go up to somebody necessarily. If it's just a smile, I've realized.
Yep.
Laura will be like, just smile at this person. I'm like, okay, like, what does that do? But
So
you never know.
there it's backwards too, but Ashley will put it on. 2 Corinthians 10:12. Remember, in order to be wise, don't compare yourself with yourself and among yourselves, with those around you. And enjoy the rest of your day. We have a little announcement next week.
We do.
Should we say it now or should we wait? 'Cause
Well,
next week is the freedom. Maybe we need to wait. We're going to wait. Join us next week, because then we'll announce it next week. Definitely. But think about, ask yourself, can I set something aside? Have I been comparing myself? And take time away to seek the Lord. Take time away from the tyranny of the urgent to compare yourself with Christ and spoil yourself with His love instead of spoiling yourself with things and stuff and trying to satisfy the flesh. The flesh, not the Flash. I like the Flash too. He's really cool, but the Flash.
Things and stuff don't matter as much. People matter.
That's right. Okay, join us next week
For our special announcement.
We're not even going to tell you. We're not even going to tell you what the title of next week. Don't say it. Because we'll scream it next week.
Oh yeah. Turn down your volume next week before you start on the video. We're allowed. I know.
Okay, we'll see ya.
Bye.